Why would I want to do that? I'll gavel some. She's creating problems over here, Mr. Lane.
I am not creating problems.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Midwest City Council meeting, April 22nd edition. I hope, usually when this is full like this, somebody's mad at us. Is anybody mad at us? Okay, just kidding. Welcome to the council meeting tonight. We've got a fairly large agenda we need to get with, and so I'm calling the meeting to order. I would ask that Mr. Sullivan come down and offer the invocation. Will you please stand? Also, I'd like to welcome our ROTC cadets, Cadet Alcaya, Smith, and Mills from Midwest City ROTC. And they'll be leading us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful spring day, and we give you the glory and the honor for that. And we thank you for the rains that we've received recently. Father, I thank you for this council and their willingness to serve in this capacity, and I ask your wisdom and discernment be upon them. And you give them peace in their decisions that they offer tonight. Thank you so much for this great city that we serve, and this great state and great nation, and all those who are all over the world defending our freedoms as we meet this evening. Give them peace and protection as well. Thank you so much for your son Jesus and the forgiveness we have through his sacrifice. We ask all these favors in his holy name. Amen.
May everyone please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please, everyone remain standing for a moment of silence. You may have a seat.
Thank you. I would like to point out our cadets from Midwest City tonight. Mr. Mills is a junior, or Ms. Mills is a junior, and she plans to go into nursing when she graduates. Mr. Alcaya is already in the Army and plans to go to boot camp in June after he graduates. And Mr. Smith is a sophomore and plans to go into college in the military when he graduates. Let's give him a round of applause. We have numerous proclamations to do tonight, so I'll go ahead and get started and start wading through this. So, coaches, I want to call your attention to the back This is the two state champion swim teams from Carl Albert High School. We're glad you guys are here. Congratulations on your hard work and your dedication. And we're going to honor you all tonight. Whereas Carl Albert High School men's swim team has demonstrated extraordinary resilience, determination, and team spirit in capturing the 2025 OSSA 5A state championship, marking back-to-back titles through impressive hard work and journey. Whereas despite losing 58% of the previous year's point-scoring athletes and entering the season as underdogs expected to finish no higher than third, the Titans, under leadership of head coach Josh Norman, showcased exceptional depth, unity, and competitive spirit, finishing with 254.5 points and edging out runner-up Cassidy School by just 9 points. In what Coach Norman called one of the most competitive meets he had ever been a part of. Whereas in individual events, only one Titan placed in the top three, yet the team rallied around their relay squads, and all three relay teams placing in the top four, demonstrating remarkable cohesion, determination, and relentless commitment to team success. Whereas with a roster composed largely of underclassmen, the Titans' younger swimmers rose to the occasion, overcoming injuries, setbacks, and yet pressing forward in unwavering determination to win the championship, and truly fought the good fight, exemplifying the spirit of perseverance, growth, and collective achievement. Whereas the following team members deserve recognition for their contributions to the historic victory is Levi Berger, Tyler Braun, Andrew Campbell, Colt Krzan, Braxton Davis, Max Ennis, Dylan McDonald, Reese Rushing, Caleb Smith, Ridge Thornton, Heisler 12s, Gaitlin Walworth, and Coburn Williams. Therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, hereby proclaim April 24th as Carl Albert Men's High School Swim Day, and ask that all the citizens of Midwest City congratulate them on their win and encourage them in their future endeavors. You got to do it. Party trick here. Coach, you want to say a few words?
Mr. Mayor, why don't you let these kids come down here? I think there's some parents in the audience who want to take some pictures of them other than sitting in their seats. Come on. Come on, y'all. You all did it. You're the ones who need the camera time. Come on.
This team. Yeah, this team had an average. This team averaged 3.5 GPA throughout the season. They are academic, distinguished honor team recipients from the OSSAA. They are East Regional champions for the first time in school history. Carl Albert nor Mid-Del has ever been to the East region before. We were moved by the OSSAA this year. We like to say the West ain't the best because the Beast went East. So they won the East for the first time, and they are back-to-back state champions. It was a very hard-fought meet, and they did pull it out by 9.5 points, being expected to finish not within the top three. So thank you guys for your recognition.
Coach?
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry? Is this one dead? Technical difficulty. Here's the second one. whereas the Carl Albert High School women's swim team has demonstrated exceptional dedication, athleticism, and teamwork throughout the 2024-25 season. And whereas under the leadership of head coach Josh Norman, the team achieved outstanding results, culminating in a record or second place finish at OSSAA 5A State Swimming Championship held at Jinx Aquatic Center on February 25th, 2025. And whereas rising to the challenge, the Lady Titans demonstrated continued growth and competitive excellence by earning 240 points at the 2025 meet, securing second place finish behind the reigning champion Shawnee of 273 points, and finishing ahead of Altus at 224 points, a remarkable improvement from their fourth place finish in 2024, where they scored 197 points. Whereas the Lady Titans exemplified dedication, teamwork, and support for one another, fostering a culture of mutual encouragement, perseverance, and extended beyond the pool as they traveled over 6,000 miles to and from practices, demonstrating the extraordinary level of commitment and sacrifice. Whereas the team's achievements reflect the hard work, perseverance, and spirit of excellence that define Carl Albert High School and the Midvale community. Whereas the following student athletes are to be recognized for their contributions: Donna Antelli, Journey Blackwell, Gabby Buck Pratt, Zoe Cosgrove, Katie Howard, Haley Hunt, Journey Joseph, Brindley Lamb, Brianna Lamb, Journey LaValle, Jalen Lewis, Georgia Mosher, Charlotte Peters, and Berkeley Wickens. I therefore, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, hereby proclaim April 23rd as Carl Albert High School Women's Swim Day in the city of Midwest City, and want you to congratulate them for their hard work.
These young ladies averaged a 3.8 GPA this season. They were also 2025 Academic All-State team recipients, so that is 2 Academic All-State teams in the same room. Something they did during the state meet that was impressive is during the state championship meet, between prelims and finals, point moves and point spreads are not extremely common. They came into day 2, finals day, with a tie between them and Altus for the runner-up position. And again, point moves on day 2 are not common because things are already set from prelims. You just have to go prove it a second time. Within 2 hours of that finals meet, these ladies gained 16 points over the runner-up and really took it by force. So they are an extremely young team as well. So we have big expectations for both programs moving into 2026.
And I'm sure everybody's going to be in support of our new Y Aquatic Center, where they have a place to practice in Midwest City, Oklahoma. Can I get an amen? Somebody here from Fair Housing? Fair housing everywhere is utmost important of any community, and this month is Fair Housing Month. And whereas April 2025 marks the our 57th anniversary of Fair Housing Act signed into law April 11, 1968, and April has traditionally been designated as Fair Housing Month. Whereas Title 10 of the Civil Rights Act 1968, fair housing law prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide fair housing in the United States of America. And whereas fair housing means one may freely choose a place to live without regard of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, age, family status, or disability. Whereas the City of Midwest City endeavors to inform and educate citizens of their right to freely choose where they want to live, being committed to equal opportunity and access to housing. Therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do proclaim April 2025 as Fair Housing Month and ask that all citizens get behind this endeavor and promote it. Thank you for being here. So we got Carter Church. Thank you, guys. We ain't done yet. It's your turn, Teresa. Just- Ladies and gentlemen, this is our animal welfare bill specialist from the City of Midwest City, and they do a phenomenal job of not only capturing and taking care of wayward animals and getting them back to their owners, but just the overall care they give to the animals that they take in. And in 2018, we passed a general obligation bond where we built a brand new animal welfare care center, and it's a state-of-the-art, and several cities have come in and looked at our facility to copy what we've done. These ladies and gentlemen are a large part of that, and they do a great job in our city. Whereas National Animal Care and Control Association was founded September 27, 1978 to provide resources, standardization, training, support, and a means of communication for all animal care and control professionals across the country. Whereas in 1978, National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week is celebrated annually during the second full week of April and give recognition to the hardworking men and women of animal control or animal care and control who risk their lives serving the public and the animals in their care. Whereas these public servants go above and beyond to protect the welfare and helplessness of the animals that are rescued from injury, disease, abuse, and starvation, they also provide essential community functions by enforcing laws, protecting the public from diseases, and educating the public on proper care of the community's pets. Whereas Midwest City Animal Services Department employees are professional, certified animal control officers handling an average of 1,700 animals a year with a high rate of saving animals when at all possible. Therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim April 14th through the 18th as National Animal Control Officer Appreciation Week, and please thank them for their service to our community. Becky. I want to introduce you to two of our 911 operators. These are the first responders.
I was looking for you.
Oh. These are the first responders that you talk to when your day has gone totally berserk. They save lives. They care for officers and firemen and the EMS personnel, and are truly professionals in what they do. And we're extremely blessed in Midwest City to have these folks with us. And they used to give me a hard time for 31 years, and but I still love them. Whereas in 1991, a congressional resolution named the second full week of April every year as National Telecommunicator Week, knowing that 911 dispatchers are first and most critical contact for people in an emergency situation, and the dispatcher's voice is the voice of assurance that will help get help on the way. Whereas dispatcher professionals regularly meet the challenge of an extremely stressful situations with calmness, efficiency, and exhilarating compassion, understanding, technical expertise during the performance of their daily job duties. Whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response and safety of victims, first responders, and property preservation is critical and depends on the quality and accuracy of the information obtained from citizens to our Midwest City dispatchers. Whereas they provide emergency medical instructions to callers with life-threatening emergencies and contribute substantially to the apprehension of criminals and suppression of fires on a daily basis. Whereas on April 14th through the 18th, 2025, our dispatchers celebrated National Telecommunicator Week as they reflect on the many lives they've saved through emergency dispatch in 2024 and the numerous other accomplishments. So therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, who hereby proclaim April 14th through the 18th as Midwest City Telecommunication Week. And please honor these men and women who do a thankless job. You gotta get a party first. One other thing is last year, the state legislature passed a law recognizing our 911 dispatchers as first responders, making them eligible for all the benefits that that a police officer or fireman get in the same job. So again, thank you guys for what you do.
Thank you.
Paul Street. Thank you guys for being here. One of the stats that I do in the State of the City address every year is communicate how many tons of trash we collect in Midwest City, and stands right at 39,000 tons of trash. And our phones don't light up very seldom unless somebody's trash doesn't get picked up. All right? So, whereas the United States generates more than 258 million tons of municipal solid waste each year, whereas each year recycling keeps approximately 89 million tons of material out of the landfill and gives it a second use. Whereas the City of Midwest City has partnered with Republic Services to offer curbside recycling service to Midwest City residents since 2013. Whereas the City of Midwest City and Republic Services are hosting the 2025 Super Recycling Program in order to recognize residents who are recycling the right way, knowing what to recycle, and placing only empty cans, clean and dry items in the recycling bins. Whereas the volunteers have been auditing recycling bins in neighborhoods across the city during the first 2 weeks of April to identify the 2025 super recyclers. Whereas the super recyclers will receive a $25 gift card to a local business or restaurant to be honored during special presentation during the 3rd Annual Earth Day Festival and Community Resources Fair on April 26th in the Nick Horace Community Center. Whereas Midwest City leaders can use this opportunity to spread the word about the excellent recycling opportunities available to Midwest City residents and the importance of practicing proper recycling habits. Therefore, Matt Dukes, Mayor of Midwest City, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Super Recycling Month and invite all the citizens to learn and educate themselves on what to recycle. And I understand a controversy from last year has been corrected, and Mr. Sullivan has received his $25 gift certificate. But there's no pizza boxes in his recycling unit.
You mean he didn't have a pizza box in this time?
No pizza box.
You're right, the super recycling wasn't on here.
That's all right.
And we're grateful for the city staff that participated. We actually had quite a few staff members this year who
All right.
participated. Our own, very own Tia Cromar,
Tia.
Sarah Hancock, Ronald Coleman. We had a few that actually went out there and walked the
Summers.
streets, and Matt Summers. So we're grateful for those folks that came out to help us. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. I give you all the credit.
I'm so excited to be part of your success.
I actually drove by your house after they hit it, and I noticed that you had a positive thing on the trash can. And if it was negative, I was gonna call you, but it was
That was
positive.
quite a controversy last year. Arbor Day, anybody? It's you two? This is it, I promise.
Just say the first one and then skip to the last one.
Whereas in 1872, Sterling Morton proposed the Nebraska Board of Education that a special day be set aside for planting trees. Whereas this holiday is called Arbor Day and was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska and now observed throughout the United States and the world. Whereas trees are one of the most sustainable and cost-effective tools for fighting climate change, reducing topsoil erosion from wind and water, moderating the temperature, which cuts heating and cooling costs, cleaning the air, and producing oxygen and providing habitat for wildlife. Whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, and fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of our business areas, and beautify our community by providing a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Whereas the last 41 years, Midwest City has been recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation. Therefore, I, Matt Dukes, Midwest City Mayor, do hereby proclaim April 25th as Arbor Day and ask that you plant a tree.
I like it, yeah.
There you go. Another party pick.
There we go. I think the mayor deserves a round of applause for all those proclamations.
We are done. Meeting adjourned. Let's go home.
They were just starting.
That's what he said. Second it?
All right. Now we move on to community-related announcements. Mr. Lyon.
Few announcements for tonight, starting with our emergency management departments putting on a whole community planning meeting, which will be Tuesday, April 29th at 1:30 at the community center for all those that are interested. Restore Midwest City Community Service Day is Saturday, May 3rd, 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Light breakfast and lunch will be provided. Contact Barbara Kelton at 739-1010 for more information on the house that they'll be working on. Association celebration has saved the date is June 5th this year from 5 to 7 p.m. On April 26th is our third annual Earth Day Festival and Community Resource Fair at the Community Center from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Activities will include a tree board art contest, tree giveaway, vendors and exhibitors, food trucks, and more. So the festival will occur rain or shine since it's at the Community Center. And this will be the largest one. We usually do it in the park, and this will be the largest one we've ever done. So we're looking forward to that. And thanks to PWA and Stormwater and Kerry for putting this on. On May 10th, Public Works will hold its annual tire, metal, and e-waste collection event at the Household Hazardous Waste Facility at the Charles Johnson Building on 15th Street. It's a good time to clean out any of those items and bring them in. And as we get closer to Memorial Day weekend, reminder that the compost facility will be closed May 24th until May 27th, where it'll reopen on Tuesday, May 27th. And then on sanitation will change its routes that due to the holiday, the Monday trash route will be picked up on Wednesday, May 28th as normal. If your day's not is a holiday, it's always on that Wednesday. With that, that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Lyon. We move into our consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so council members by unanimous consent can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any council member requests to discuss an item, or if there's not unanimous consent, then the item will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Mayor, I'd like to pull item 7 for discussion. And if no one else has any other items, I move to approve the remaining consent items.
Okay, I've got a motion to approve all the items except item number 7. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I've got a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 7, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action of reappointing the following list of municipal judges consisting of David Howell, Joanne Horn, Lorenzo Banks, and Joel Porter, reappointing Farley Ward as an alternate.
Just wanted to see which dockets each judge was presiding over.
I think,
I know Judge Porter is over juveniles.
Judge
but
Porter has juvenile. Joanne Horn, I think, has environmental, but so does Lorenzo as well, right? What else is Lorenzo working on, Mike? Do you know?
and of course, David Howell is criminal and traffic.
And then I'm assuming the Judge Ward, have we always had an alternate, or is that?
Yeah, he's been
okay.
there for years.
And would
He's a
step in
former-
for any of them? at
Yeah,
any
he can sub for anybody. He's a retired federal judge. Go ahead.
I believe Lorenzo is juvenile and then also backup for all of them.
Okay.
And so he's
doing
first
juvenile
and then Farley's
backup.
the last.
Thank you, Mr. Stroh. That's all
Okay.
I wanted. I just want a clarification on which dockets they were. Would that move to approve? Thanks.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. We're going to try something a little bit different tonight. As at the request of the city manager, as we move through the discussion items, he's just going to read the first line of the discussion item, and then we can discuss it and move on. Is that acceptable to all the council? Yes. Okay. So we move into discussion items. Item number 1, Mr. Lyon.
Public hearing, discussion, consideration, possible action to consider approval of the preliminary plat of the Element Office Park located at 10505 Southeast 15th Street. Mr. Summers.
Thank you. This is a preliminary plat application that's before you today. The applicant's looking to subdivide the parcel into 9 commercial lots and 3 common area lots. This lot, if you remember, was subject of a zone change application to rezone the property to planned unit development a month or 2 ago is PC 2195. Because there are common area lots, the applicant will eventually need to form a property owners association. The staff report notes, some comments that staff has given to or conveyed to the applicant regarding the layout. I do want to note that the layout does comply with our regulations. We're trying to make them aware, of some issues they may run into down the road. But the proposed layout does comply with our regulations. And if the applicant receives approval from council today, they can proceed with construction of the site, the improvements, roadways, utilities, things of that nature. Then the next time that it would come before the city council would be if they were when they're ready for their final plat. At that point, they would have presumably complied with all of our regulations as far as utility installation, and they would really just be seeking that final approval before a plat can be recorded, creating the lots that they're proposing. State and local notification requirements were met, and there were no comments in support or opposition at the Planning Commission hearing, and the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of this item.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have anything?
I have a question for Mr. Summers.
Yes.
One of the issues you brought up in your discussion was trash pickup. Has that been addressed now? Are you comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with it now. I mean, they may have to adjust that lot that they're setting aside for the dumpster location, that common area lot that's going to be kind of in the middle of their parking area. But it may have to be adjusted a little bit in terms of size or location once they actually put the infrastructure in the ground and things like that. But it should be a relatively minor adjustment, if any.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Once again, this is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before council concerning this item?
Mr. Summers, I'm sorry. Mr. Summers, just a quick question. No concerns about drainage issues or anything at this point?
Not at this point, no.
I close the public hearing and chair to entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 2, Mr. Lyon.
PC 2212, public hearing, discussion, consideration of possible action to consider approval of the preliminary plat for the property described as Tract A, located at, there's no address, the northeast quarter of Section 7, Township 11, North Range, West End, Indian Meridian, and Midwest City, Oklahoma. Matt?
Yes, thank you. This is another preliminary plat, so it will go through a similar process as the other one. They will potentially receive approval tonight. That would kind of clear them to move on to construction and then eventually final platting later. In this case, what they're seeking to do is subdivide the parcel into 5 commercial lots and then leave the part that was recently zoned residential as a single lot that they would develop. I think their proposal at the time of their PUD was to develop the residential parcel as duplexes. Being under single ownership, obviously they couldn't be sold individually, but that is in compliance with our regulations. There's nothing all that unusual there. The applicant and staff have agreed that sewer will be extended along South Westminster Road up until it can come, westward across the southern part of the proposed commercial lots, and that 15-foot easement will be all entirely located on the commercial lots. Both state and local notice requirements were met with this. We did receive one phone call in opposition to this application at the Planning Commission hearing. However, there were no comments in support or opposition for this application, and the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this item.
Once again, this is a public hearing. Does anyone have anything to bring before council concerning this item? Hearing or seeing none, chair to entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve with the additional agreements that the city and the property owner have already come. That has to be part of as it's following through.
Okay.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Item number 3, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, possible action of approving amendments to the City of Midwest Cities Council candidate questionnaire. Mr. Mosh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. As you may recall, about a year ago, we received an Attorney General's opinion that was requested by the city. Upon receiving that and going through it, there was a request made that we look at our candidate questionnaire to see if there should be any changes that should be made. Myself and the city clerk sat down, reviewed everything, came up with some additional questions that we believe, based on the AG's opinion, should be asked. Couple caveats with that. Just because someone may answer one of those questions in the affirmative does not mean that there is a conflict of interest. And we have added one question about dual office holding. Though, just because someone answers a question in the affirmative does not mean that that conflict of interest or dual office holding occurs. It means that we need to do more investigation. The second thing to note is that just because a candidate may answer yes does not disqualify the candidate. What it does is, if a conflict of interest is found, then the contract that is impacted by that with the city is deemed void under the law. This does not preclude anybody from running or not running, but it gives us information to determine if a contract may be impacted and may be void because of the person who might be successful and become a city council member. Secondly, for dual office holding, that doesn't impact them in any way being on the city council. Once they do assume that role, though, under the law and under a Supreme Court opinion of Nesbitt v. Apple, the first office that they hold becomes vacated. And then that other body has to take care of that issue. So with that explanation, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
I had one question. In regard to a contract being void, let's say somebody had a contract with the city and it was they own a part of the company. Does that contract void the minute they apply?
No.
Does it become void only if they're elected?
Right. Once they sit in the office, once they take the oath and sit in the seat, that's when it becomes void.
All right. Thank you.
Question. I noticed that you went from 3 questions, I had to pull mine.
Yes.
3 questions to 6.
Correct.
My concern is the relationships. Seems like there's a whole, everybody but your cousin's nephew.
That is correct. We tried to cover, when we looked at it and looked at the AG's opinion, we tried to cover as much as the AG did. The AG went as far as father-in-law and cited a previous opinion that stated a certain relationship that a father-in-law had with a city council member made a contract void. So we expanded what that was to include that entire circumference around basically whether it's the person themselves, a spouse, child, brother, sister, parent, in-law.
Grandparents. And
we kind of encompassed all of that.
And we took that from the AG's opinion, or did we?
We took that from the AG's opinion, citing to previous AG's opinions.
Seemed like we covered everybody.
It's not quite I didn't take second cousin twice removed.
Okay. Let's see, did I have a second question? And I think you answered some of them with the yes does not disqualify you. I have a question. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask it or not, but you know, I'm looking at the committees and so forth, people who volunteer to be on committees. Would there ever be a chance where they had a conflict of interest? We assign someone to a committee. Would this apply to them also?
No, it does not, because the statute and the constitutional provision only applies to city council members.
Okay.
So it does not apply to planning commission or parks board or the two we're going to be looking at, traffic and safety board and the tree board. It does not apply to them because the constitutional provision and the statutes that work into those only apply to city council positions.
No, they would be required to step down from those committees though once they take office.
Sure, if you had a member, let's say, of the tree board that ran for city council and won, they would have to vacate the tree board position and to be a city council member. That is correct.
Thank you, appreciate that. I had another question on this. Let me think, what was it?
While she's thinking about it.
Thank you.
We have 8 months between today, basically, and the first week in December when the
Correct.
Mr. City Manager, are we going to do anything proactive to get this out there, because we don't need somebody wasting their time or their money running, and then it
I don't
causes.
know if you guys have talked about, I don't know if you've talked about that, but that's something that Josh can help us put out and especially on our website for.
Correct.
So that we can
We
get this
we kind of
posted.
discussed that a little bit. We need to discuss that with the city manager and see what direction he wants to go to be able to get this out to the public.
Well, there's a guy right back there with a camera that can help us with that, because, like I
That
said,
is true.
we have 8 months, and
Yes.
we don't need to wait till the first week in November to get this out, because most people, if they're gonna run, make that determination probably in the summertime.
And that is one of the reasons we did this now, was to get this information out fairly soon, because we expect decisions like that are going to be made in the next 2 or 3 months.
Can I ask, sorry, go ahead, Councilwoman. Finish yours.
Before I forget it. My concern is, I think I understand why we're doing this, the AG and prior history, but it doesn't address if I'm working for someone and they're into a contract, does it? Did I miss that part?
It will give us sufficient information that if you are working for somebody, and that is the only way it applies to other family members in a more indirect way. And that's one of the things you've got to remember, is we're not just looking at direct pecuniary gain here, which is something the AG, if you read that opinion, really dwells on. But there's also indirect benefits, which is where you get into family members and where you get into things that they called perks. And so we're trying to cover all of those without being so evasive that we have a 20-question item here and causing chilling effect per se. We're just trying to get sufficient information that would tell us, okay, do we need to look into this further? Do we need to talk with the candidate? And do we need to research what those agreements are? One other thing I might mention is, once candidates file, we as the city cannot challenge that candidacy. Under the law, we don't have that right. The only person who has that right, or people who have that right, are any of their opponents who file to run for that same office.
So at what point, do we have clarity at what point in the process we're asking potential candidates to fill this out? Would it be at the time of filing?
That is correct. That is the time. Those are when the decisions are made. They go down to the county clerk's office, they file, they come to the city clerk's office to submit that paperwork, and then the city clerk provides them this information and requests that it be filled out.
And to follow up with what the vice mayor asked in regards to putting this information out there, I mean, I heard you say that the intent of this questionnaire is not to deter people from running for office, right?
That is correct. It is to give us information to know what agreements we may have or what issues we may have that could impact the city and city business.
Would it not make more sense to, in order to not deter and, I don't know, waste time as well, to maybe do this potential questionnaire once an individual is elected, given the fact that the determination is that we cannot constitutionally disqualify people if they meet all the legal requirements, and that it is per this memo that a contract would therefore be void if somebody is determined to have a conflict. Why are we putting this step prior to?
One of the reasons, back when we originally did this,
Yeah.
one of the reasons why we were doing it at the time of candidacy was to make this information, if there is something that is found, known to the public, so that then the voters can address it however they wish. And that was the thought process originally behind doing the questionnaire when we originally ran into this issue, was to try to give the electorate, those that vote, that information, and then they could decide accordingly, but just to make that information available. There is nothing, you're right, your suggestion, what you're talking about there, there's nothing in the law that would preclude us from doing that. It's just, that was the way we did it 2 years ago. And we were looking at following up with that same process.
And in regards to, so I'm sorry, I apologize. When I first initially read this item in totality, I was misunderstanding it to say that the only addition to the questionnaire was the very last question in regards to dual office holding.
No, it's all the ones that are underlined.
Okay, so it's multiple ones, okay.
Yes, there are,
When I applied, there were 3 questions.
you're right. When we
Okay.
first did it,
Now
there were
there's
3
6.
questions, and now there are 6.
Okay. But, and I'm not gonna take up more time to read those, but with the particular one that I focused on as far as the dual office holding, and I heard you say it as well, there's state statute that prohibits you from holding 2 offices.
There's a state statute that precludes the dual office holding. There are many exceptions to that as well. And the reason we put it in here was a most recent issue that came up with a sister municipality within the past year, 18 months, where that person was a member of the city council, went to another county and became an associate district judge, and wouldn't vacate their city council position.
I recall that.
So that's why since that issue has recently reared its head, and in fact, that municipality had to go to court and get a court determination that, yes, this is dual office holding, yes, you no longer hold your original office, to be able to clear that up, because that person wasn't willing to vacate their
So
seat.
it's definitely a legal matter, and I do
Yes.
know that there is precedent. I actually remember that case. But in the memo, it goes on to say then the first office is automatically vacated. I do not foresee where we have the enforcement power. We cannot go vacate and submit a resignation on behalf of that
Right.
potential.
It actually operates as a matter of law.
Yeah.
The law that the Supreme Court has determined, as I said in that Nesbitt v. Apple case, that once you take the second office seat, you, by doing that, then automatically vacate your first office. That is an operation of law.
But that's within the law. It is
Right.
not through what we are
No.
what we are achieving here.
No, we're not looking to do that
And
whatsoever.
refresh my memory here,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't necessarily recall the AG opinion directing us to do this, and I don't even recall any language about the dual office piece.
In the AG's opinion, you are correct. There was nothing about dual office holding. As I said, we added that in there because of the most recent situation that a sister municipality came up with. Does the AG direct us to do anything like this within the opinion? Not necessarily. As I said, this was something that this council wanted to do 2 years ago, and then once the AG opinion came out, there was a request to look at that and see if there was any changes that needed to be done with this. Obviously, this is purely a decision by the city council whether they want to go forward with this process or not.
You know, I understand where Sarah's coming from, that this is kind of a preemptive deal.
It is.
And it's really not enforceable until the day the person is elected, because up till then, it really won't make a difference.
And it's not actually the day they are elected,
It's
it's
the
the
day
day
they're sworn-
they get sworn in.
But, and I understand where she's coming from, that you know, it's a lot of work ahead of time. If that's how I think about it. But I would much rather have it as a guide for the people that are running, to let them know, hey, you need to look at this, and not at the last minute or feel like you're being forced into making a decision. If nothing else, this is gonna give people that are wanting to get involved in Midwest city government something to look at ahead of time, instead of at the last minute when you feel like you're being pressured to make a decision. This will allow them to make that decision a little sooner and not as pressured, and that's how I look at it. You know, it's not gonna affect me, because I'm done, but I think if there's anything we can do to keep from having a repeat of what we went through, we need to do it. And I look at this as a guide for people that are wanting to run, to look at this, hey, if I do this, this could happen. Do I really want to do that?
And also, it's a preventative, for lack of a better term, preventative measure, and maybe spur that conversation. Hey, I got this issue. Do we need to look at it and take care of it before it becomes an issue? It's a preventative measure more than anything.
And to follow up with the Vice Mayor's question, you're referring to a very particular circumstance where if it is determined and identified that an individual owns 25% or more, or somebody in their family does, of a particular for-profit business, for example, that then ends up having a contract with the city, right? We are trying to, I guess, be proactive in warning such an individual, right? I mean, this would only apply to that particular case. A potential business owner with a certain percentage of ownership who ends up running for council winning, and then ends up that this body has a contract, right? Wouldn't that be fair? Is that kind of the situation you're referring to, being
Like I said,
proactive to?
I don't look at this as a barrier for anybody to run. I look at it as an opportunity for them to look at this form first, and then you make a decision, because I don't think anybody wants to repeat. We'll look at it, and that way, between now and December, and I may be correct or incorrect, Mr. City Manager, but I'm hoping if somebody is wanting to run and they have this form in front of them, if it's June or July, that they can feel comfortable asking our city attorney, how will this affect me? And if so, I mean, he can't give them the legal advice, like, this is what you need to do. He can say, hey, this is something you need to look into, or it's not a worry, you know, because, like I said, I just don't want it to be a last-minute pressured deal where somebody makes a decision that if they'd had more time to think about it, it may have been different. And that's my
But
Go
also,
ahead, sorry.
Councilwoman, I think it's broader than what you're boiling it down to. I mean, because, you know, you have multiple tenets to this, so, I mean, I don't think it's fair to say it's only applicable where you have, and I'm paraphrasing what you said, but you have someone who is a family member who has a 25% interest in a business that's for-profit, and that also has a contract with the city, essentially. And I'm, again, apologize if I didn't get that exactly right, but I mean, I think that the point of the questionnaire goes more broadly than that, so I don't think it's fair to just say this would only apply in that circumstance. And, you know, also, this is an important issue, and so I guess what I'm struggling to come up with here is, if everybody isn't comfortable with moving forward with this the way it is currently, and we do still have some time before us, then perhaps we should take no action on this or table it, whatever is appropriate, and bring it back to the next meeting to give people some additional time to digest it. I mean, you yourself, Councilwoman, said you missed 2 of the additional questions to it. So, I mean, if there are other questions about this, because we want to get this right, I mean, and we have plenty of time, but we don't want anybody to, you know, feel like, again, that we hurried into designing this questionnaire because it's important. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Thank you for stating that. And I think what I struggle with here, when I read the questions again, and they're very general questions about employment, and really the core of the question is whether or not you have a contractual relationship with the city, and then it goes on about the 25%. So that is the crux of the question is, are you doing official monetary business with the city and then now trying to oversee the very business that you're potentially profiting from, right? That's the core of it. And I just as a matter of public transparency and ethics, I think, we keep referring that we want to prevent a situation that happened here. And I think we are referring to the resignation of former Councilwoman Megan Bain. This questionnaire would have not made a difference, and correct me, City Attorney, Megan Bain did not have a contractual conflict of interest with the city of Midwest City. She would have passed this questionnaire, flew right through it with an A, because there was no conflict of interest. But we ended up, and I'm not going to hash out as to what, resulting in a resignation. So I don't believe, that's where I think my concern is, that I don't think this questionnaire is going to help prevent another mishap like
Question, statement. I have a statement. I agree with that, and I'm thinking if we're going to use a contract, we need to be more specific in saying, do you have a contract with the city? No, if you have a contract with the city, that disqualify you or whatever, because right now, I don't think we're meeting the intent of this form. We're not clear enough, because all I'm getting from this form is, I can't have a relative that I'm hanging out with.
Susan, give me 1 minute. Let me explain something, what the AG said.
Okay.
As the AG said, They cannot, in any AG opinion, rule on a specific set of facts that is there. They rule on what the law says. And what they basically said in this AG opinion is not so much that there wasn't a conflict of interest, but because that's not their role. Their role was what constitutes a conflict of interest, and then further investigation needs to be done, and it's up to whether it's, in this case, the city, to apply that law to a specific set of facts and to then make that determination themselves. Did the AG find no conflict of interest? Not exactly. What they said was, based on what they had, here is what constitutes a conflict of interest, and city, you need to go back and specifically look at that and determine whether a conflict of interest is set. But what they specifically said is just because a person works for a company that has a contract with the city in and of itself does not create that conflict. You must dig in back behind it and determine whether they have a direct interest, i.e. some sort of direct pecuniary interest, or an indirect interest that brings them benefit. And please remember, the issue is, do they derive a benefit? And that benefit has to be something that the rest of us in the public cannot receive. So the AG opinion did not say there was not a conflict of interest, or did not say that there was a conflict of interest. What they said was, just because you have a job and that employer has a contract with the city, that naked fact in and of itself does not create one. You must go behind and look. The questions that are derived here are to take that first step. That's what they were written for, to say, do we have a question here that we need to take that next step that the AG described in the AG's opinion? And that's all that these questions are attempting to do, is to try to identify something like that.
Go ahead, Ms. Eads.
That's why, in fairness, I think that we need to take a minute and continue this to our next meeting so that some additional discussion can be had, not sitting on this horseshoe about any questions or changes that are sought to be made. I don't know if we've conferred with ACOG or OMAG to see if there's another city out there who's got one of these in existence, but if we could do that and ask to see, is there another city that is using some type of city council candidate questionnaire, so that we're not just reinventing the wheel, and we can look at what they have, either from ACOG, OMAG, the listserv of city attorneys, any of the above type of thing, and bring this back after everybody's had a chance to look at those other resources, give input to Dawn if you have it, and discuss it next time. Can we do that?
Yes, we
Well,
can take
if
no
I'm-
action on this.
if
and
I'm
I would
not
I would
mistaken-
like to ask you that you engage Mr. Meisch in the next couple of weeks to clarify the issues, and we'll bring this back next council meeting.
I would prefer to vote on it tonight. I think that staff has spent enough time researching the issue. They have brought us a plan that they recommend, and it's our obligation to either vote yes or no on the plan that they recommend. They have done the research, they've looked at the laws, and they've talked to peer organizations. I don't see any reason why another month is going to make any difference, and I would be reluctant to put the burden on them to do more research, just because we're a little uncertain about what we want to do. So I think we should look at it as it stands and vote yes or no on it tonight, rather than put the burden back on the city to do more research of a nebulous and uncertain scope.
Well, respectfully, I don't think that's true. I mean, I think my peer councilwomen have, inserted some concerns that they have, and I think it would be good for them to dialogue their concerns with Dawn, because I don't think anybody saw a previous copy of this candidate questionnaire before it came up in our packet. And I also don't think, Dawn didn't mention, maybe I'm wrong, that he had conferred with OMAG or conferred with ACOG to see if there is another city that is using a city council candidate questionnaire that we could look at, draw from, cannibalize, et cetera. Am I right or wrong with that, Dawn?
Have I asked OMAG or ACOG if another municipality is doing this? No. I'm going to put a comma, but please remember that both that OML and OMAG did approach the city and ask them not even to ask for the Attorney General's opinion. So I'm going to assume something here, and I know what happens when you assume, but I'm going to assume that no other municipality is doing this because they really didn't want us to move forward with this.
Right, and I recall that, but again, the assumption part of it comes with a sting.
I understand.
And so I think the past merits us taking the additional time. So no disrespect, Councilman Thompson, but I'm going to go ahead and move that we take
Before
no.
you do that, can I just ask one logistical question that just came to me in this conversation? Let's say said candidate comes to file and beautiful, kind Sarah Hancock, the clerk, says, please fill this out.
And they say no?
I'm not going to. Here's the official paperwork.
Yep.
What then?
That, I admit, there is nothing there that says that somebody has to fill this out. Obviously, though, if it's the city council's will to have a questionnaire, like whether it's this one or some modification of it, and that's the vote, and they choose not to, we will make that information public, and it ultimately becomes the voter's decision on what they want to do with that information.
Thank you for your grace, Councilwoman. Move ahead.
So if I could just refresh my statement of I'm moving to take no action on this item. Motion's on the floor.
We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Or she made a motion to take no action.
I have a motion and a second. Go ahead and do a roll call vote. The motion would be to take no action and move this to the next council meeting.
With the understanding that the people that have concerns are gonna have to get with Dawn to make sure that those concerns, and not the day before.
And I'll have to take exception to one, we are running out of time. And we do need to make this a public document as soon as we can, just to get it out and prevent any issues.
I apologize, Mayor. Councilwoman Eads, could you say that it come back no later than next meeting at the very latest?
We need to be careful about next meeting because, well, the next meeting is in 2 weeks and 2 days, and we're going to be spending 5 hours in here covering the budget. So it would be the next regular council meeting, I guess.
Which would be May what?
26th, I think.
Yeah.
It'll be the fourth Tuesday in May. I do not know.
27th.
Thank you,
May
27th of May.
And before we take the vote, Councilwoman Eads, let me just put this out there. I get the sense that the consensus amongst potentially the majority of the body is to have a questionnaire. I mean, I just heard there's an urgency, it seems to be prior. I'm not quite sure that there are questions I can add to this that are going to prohibit potential problems in the future. I don't recall, as he confirmed, AG recommending that that's a best practice, so I'm comfortable with you all taking a vote on it. I mean, I just don't think I've got the magic solution here. I don't see a purpose in this piece. I think it would make more pragmatic sense once a person is elected to go through the process.
I just feel like, from my memory, which I'll guarantee you is not without fault, and it's been a minute, but my recollection of conversations of past were that we agreed that we were going to work to develop some type of candidate questionnaire to put in place to try to avoid the issue of somebody getting seated in office on the council and then determining that, oh, there's a potential conflict of interest, and now what do we do? Okay? So as far as the content of the questionnaire, I don't mean to say that I don't care so much, but I feel like just in establishing the questionnaire, it's the answer, response to a previous promise made amongst the members of this body, then involved in this body, to come up with some type of a candidate questionnaire to try to avoid somebody getting seated with a conflict of interest and then having to figure out what to do next. So I'm in favor of us doing a candidate questionnaire alone for that reason, because it was like an internal promise that this body made that we would do this. Now, is it guaranteed to work? No, and nothing is guaranteed to work, excuse me, but I just feel like because we made this promise to ourselves, we're obligated to do something to do our best to try to move forward to it. And that's what I'm saying. If it takes another 30 days, give or take, to come to that product, then I'm okay with that. And respectfully, I mean, I don't know what the push is, why this is so urgent. Yeah, we gotta get out in public, but like the filing period's like in December, for filing. So, I mean, it's April, like, you know, in the world of a lawyer, that's a lot of time, Dawn. I mean, good grief, like.
But as you heard, as part of the discussion was, people are gonna start making those decisions in June and July and August. That's why it was viewed
I
to
get it.
move,
Yeah.
to move
No,
now.
I appreciate that, but I'm just saying, like, in the grand scheme, like what we deal with, 7 months is a long time. So, not for nothing, but.
Well, I personally know two people who have already made the decision to run for your seat. So people are making the decisions now.
Well, you know more people
And
than
the
I do.
sooner this thing comes to be made public, the sooner they'll have some idea about what they're getting themselves into.
Okay, as a matter of parliamentary procedure, we do have a properly formed motion on the floor, and we do have a second, unless Ms. Eads is willing to rescind or amend her motion, then we must go through with a vote.
Call for the vote.
Okay.
And just to reiterate, the motion is to take no action and to bring it back at the May 27th city council meeting.
Eads.
Yes.
Byrne. Maxwell.
Yes.
Thompson.
No.
Banna.
Yes.
Favors.
No.
Mayor.
No. So it passes.
It passes, so we'll bring it back on May 27th.
But that doesn't preclude you guys reaching out and getting clarification on your issues. And again, this wasn't meant to be anything that precludes anybody from, it's just kind of preventive medicine, if you will, to bring issues to the top. So if in fact we do have an issue, we're aware of it and we can address it. Okay?
And I'll go on the record, I don't have a problem with it as it read. I just want to give the council people that brought a question up, I want to give them the opportunity to have time to talk to the city attorney, because I support it, I just want to give them that ability.
Point of personal privilege.
We're almost done with the discussion questions.
Can I just walk off?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks.
Discussion item number 4, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 43, dealing with trees, duties and responsibilities, and powers, and providing for repealer and severability. Mr. Meisch.
Thank you. This follows along with the changes that we're making to the various boards, committees, and commissions that we have. The tree board is set in city ordinance, so we're having to amend city ordinance. Those amendments include changing the nomination process for a member to the tree board from the mayor appointing and those appointments being approved by the city council to each one of the city council members appointing somebody from their ward. The mayor gets the option of appointing somebody just from the city. It does put a 60, as we had discussed previous, it does put a 60-day time limit on for you to make that nomination. If you do not, then it does default to the mayor to make a nomination. It also sets a mission and a statement in here, and does require, the other thing we are adding, excuse me, The other thing we are adding here is something that the Planning Commission and I know the Board of Adjustment does, and that is the requirement that minutes be taken of each and every meeting, and those minutes be available to you as a further information item on the city council agenda. And it does require the city manager to appoint a city liaison who will make sure that those minutes are taken. So with that, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much for the hard work that you did on that. I do have a question.
Sure.
The standing committee, what is the I read the purpose of it. Why do we need a standing committee when we already have all those different committees that will have the tree committee?
What do you mean by standing committee?
In the documentation, a standing committee would be appointed or you?
That may be that is already, I cannot answer that question because that was an ordinance that was written before my time, and it just gives the tree board the ability to appoint people to a committee to assist them in making their decisions that they need, and recommendations they need to make to the
Go
city
ahead.
council.
Vaughn has many years' of experience with the tree.
I will defer.
That section just simply gives the chairman of the committee the tool to appoint some members, a subcommittee that might work on such things as the master landscape plan for the city. In years way back, I'm going way back, 25, 30 years ago, a couple of the members of the committee would work closely with staff to help develop the overall landscape plan for the city, and then bring it back to the board, and then ultimately bring it to the city. So it's just a tool that they have to make a subcommittee.
In reading the documentation, the standing committee is taken from existing committees?
The existing tree board, the way I understand it, yes, ma'am.
Now, I think it was some other, and I don't have it in front of me, some other committees that already work with the tree board committee. She's looking at 42-26, is that what I'm
Yeah,
Well, what that list is, it's a list of committees that is not exclusive, i.e. that's not the only set of committees, but those are a list of committees that the tree board can create.
Okay,
It's
so
for
that-
research.
yeah,
Made me
so
do
are
that.
the committee, the tree committee forming a committee? Is that a yes?
For the purpose of research, and more in-depth research would be the best way I could describe it.
Okay. I'm happy to
Is that fair enough?
But that's never been done, I assume.
It seemed like, Tim, years ago, maybe a couple of the members helped the arborist for the city to develop the master plan, and then brought it to the full board.
So there were a
But I don't
subcommittee.
remember that for sure. That's a long time ago.
Do we need it? A committee within a committee?
I don't. Paul, you aware of this ever being done, a subcommittee to work on any? I tell you what, here's one. We did have a couple of members work closely with staff to develop the poster contest and judge those posters. It was just 2 or 3 of the current members that participated. So that might be an example. Can you think of another one?
There may be an opportunity in the future to have the need for current tree board members to provide feedback for various decisions, maybe on master planning or other committees. We have not appointed a subcommittee on the tree board in the last 7 years for anything. So, just as an FYI.
And I honestly do not recall that we ever used this, Councilwoman. I really don't.
There
I
may
honestly do
be a tree crisis in the foreseeable future, so.
Well, it
But
just
we
gives them
would
the
just like to
ability,
have, we would
if
just
they
like to
need it.
have the people that were appointed show up for meetings.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
So can I,
See what I'm saying?
so can I ask?
I'm going to grab your question here. If you so choose, you do have the ability to amend what we have here, and your amendment could be, as opposed to amending 42-26, to strike 42-26 from the city ordinances. And you could make a motion to approve this with that, and then that would remove 42-26.
Yeah.
Sarah may have one
You might
additional
ask real
question.
quick.
Okay. So on the memo, it's 60 days to nominate a person.
Yes.
I, just suggesting to the the body here, potentially 90 days for new elected officials, because I know that's a process, getting to know your community, all of that's, I think, in limiting people to 60 days, particularly because if that nomination is not made within 60 days, it then rolls to the mayor. The other piece of it is, I noticed, and I do think accountability is a good thing. If your elected can't appoint someone within a reasonable time frame, then we need to proceed, and the mayor nominating makes sense. Only I would like to amend that language where at least the mayor attempts to nominate someone within that particular ward if possible. And I recognize the mayor may not always have that ability, but at least
You know, I
give.
wouldn't, the 90 days I don't have an issue with. I wouldn't, you know, all of us have trouble finding folks to serve. And so I wouldn't constrict it to that. You've got to have the latitude to be able to you know, reach out to people. I would suggest not to do that, but that's your prerogative.
Hey, I'll trust your expertise on this one. Then the other one is, if you would help me understand line 42 there, members may be removed.
Time out, which page?
Page, it's actually the first page of the ordinance, line 42. I can read you the sentence. Members may be removed by the city council only for inefficiency. Neglect of duty and malfeasance, that obviously I can interpret, so can everybody else. What do you define as inefficiency? I just want to make sure that we're not being vague there, that can be thrown at people for removal.
To answer your question, I'm going to put the same caveat I put on for Ms. Maxwell's question. That is language that has existed in the ordinance, that was not changed or anything. It's been in the ordinance for an extended period of time before I got here. What does may be removed by the city council for inefficiency?
I would define that as not showing up for meetings or not
Yeah,
contributing.
Not showing up for meetings, being disruptive in meetings, making the tree board inefficient in some form or fashion.
Too many questions.
Okay. It's coming. Okay, well, I guess we'll
Sorry.
leave it there. No, you're fine.
Honestly, I've never, I mean, I've interpreted the word and I understand the definition of the word. I would look up the definition of the word inefficiency in Webster's dictionary and apply it accordingly.
Okay, just trying to move faster here before I get officially removed by my friend here. So the vacancies occurring otherwise than through the expiration of terms shall be filled only for the unexpired term by the mayor with confirmation by the city council. Why is it that if somebody resigns that it is now rolled into the mayor's lap to make?
You just found an issue that I missed.
Okay.
And that should actually be amended. And
Please.
if you want to pass this as is, I will bring that back to you, circle it, and by June, we will bring it back to you to make sure that that is remedied. I apologize. That is Don's mistake right there. I missed that one.
Well, he said to pass it. Did you ask us to pass it tonight and you'll amend?
Right, and we'll
bring
come
your
back and
revision?
amend it.
Okay.
Why don't we
next
just
meeting.
pass it with the amendment?
You can try. We can
Yeah.
try to do language right now. I was going to take a step back and write language.
It would be vacancies occurring otherwise than through the expiration of the term shall be filled by another nomination by,
Shall be filled in accordance with paragraph A.
okay, there we go. Thank you, Dawn. And then on the almost last page, under 42-29, just putting this out there on the mission and purpose, I don't know what we're using to measure, you know, the productivity or the committee's ability to meet the mission and purpose. We don't have any measurement tools, right?
It says on the next one, right, on 4229. That's the mission.
Yeah, but I'm saying, how are we measuring the committee's achievement to meet those, right? Not saying we need to create that now, but just to think that if we have boards and committees, we want to have a measurement tool to make sure that they're actually meeting the mission and the scope and not just having boards. And then on 42-30, In general, the city tree board shall have such powers as may be necessary to enable it to fulfill its mission and purpose to promote, right? I really think that the scope of the powers need to be itemized, right? Again, not something we have to do tonight, Dawn, but if we are giving them the power to have a study, if we're giving them the power to conduct forums and surveys, right? It needs to be there, but we're just generally saying you have powers without specifying what powers they officially have. And I'm saying this with the hope of empowering the tree board to know what tools they have, right? What enumerated powers they may have at their hands to utilize in the future if they ever wish to.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in there and suggest the same thing. I mean, can we not just move this to the 26th also? Let Dawn revise the language that you're asking for?
If that's a motion, I second it.
We do have a motion and we do have a second. Now, if Ms. Maxwell wants to amend her motion or rescind it, then we can move forward with that suggestion.
I didn't know there was ever a motion.
You said, Don, what you said. That's a motion.
To strike the committee, the standing.
Yes.
This is we have to have a tree board to be a Tree City USA.
But since we have like three other edits, sorry.
Would you like to rescind your motion? No?
I
Okay.
don't think she had a motion, she just made a suggestion.
No, she said what he said as a motion.
Okay, that was my,
I guess it was your motion.
So, but that's only one thing. It doesn't address the things that Sarah did. So Sarah would have to,
And so her motion, and you seconded it, right? And then so.
to table it, to address
Let's,
the items.
Table it. Take no action on this, and we'll move to the next one. Is that acceptable to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Item number 5, Mr.
can I just compliment Don? Thank you, Don, for all this work, and we really do appreciate it.
We'll keep trying.
Well,
But-
it takes a lot, and I do appreciate it, but I think we're getting the clarity that we need to help these different committees. I really do, so I appreciate it, even though it sounds like we're beating you up.
Item number 5, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion and consideration of possible action on approving an ordinance amending the Midwest City Municipal Code, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 7, Traffic and Safety Commission, and appointment of members, terms, office terms, meetings. Mr. Mosh.
This is the second one. This is with the Traffic and Safety Commission. It is currently, again, a commission that is established by city ordinance. The changes in the city ordinance change the appointment of the members from being appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council to each city council member appointing somebody from their ward and the mayor appointing somebody from the city at large. As a city council member, you have, again, 60 days in which to appoint, and if you don't do so, then it defaults to the mayor. It does set their term limits, just like the last one did, for a period of 3 years, allows them to be reappointed not only once, but consecutive terms beyond that. Does have the city manager to appoint a city liaison to handle that. We did show you what the powers and duties are in here. These are set by city ordinance right now. We are not changing those in any way, shape, or form. And so the mission and purpose reflects that those powers and duties that are there. The other thing, and I didn't mention this in the last one, I'll mention it this time. One of the things the city council did request was that these committees sunset, and you look at them every 3 years. And the last one had a sunset provision. This one has a sunset provision. We set that sunset provision basically 3.5 years out to January 1st of 2029. And so with that, I will be happy to take questions.
You have in there that they are to meet monthly.
Yes,
And special meetings on top of that.
if necessary.
I don't think that committee has met monthly in its existence, has it? They
It
meet once-
meets, I don't know if it meets per se monthly. It's scheduled to meet monthly. That doesn't mean they have to meet every month. They have to schedule their meetings on a monthly basis.
And what if they don't?
Then they're in violation of city ordinance.
Then they'll be sent straight to jail?
They don't pass go and they don't collect their $200.
All right.
My only comment on this one, if we change the tree for 90 days for us to appoint someone, I would suggest that we do the same with this one.
That's, once again, that's up to you. If you guys want 90 days, we had talked about 60, so that's what I set it at. If you guys want 90, and I can make them 90 moving forward, I can make it so that a person who is in their first year as a city council member has 90 days, and then everybody else has 60 days. This is your
Let's
guys'
not
pleasure.
convolute it like that.
I understand. This is your guys' pleasure.
We accept this proposal as written, with the exception of the 90-day.
Changing 60 to 90 days to a point.
Can I ask a few questions before we proceed? Sorry. So, I've never appointed someone to this board or body, and I've been here for about 3 years, and I don't even know who the appointee from Ward 5
Until very, very recently, it was Marcus Hayes.
Okay, yes, but I don't, so is it vacant as of right now for Ward 5?
I'm trying to remember, did Marcus resign? I don't recall right off the top of my
think so.
head.
I was
think he
under the
did.
impression he did to take on another position
And he
on
may
another
have.
board. Yeah, so there may be a vacancy and no one's reached out for me to fill it.
And we're gonna take care, part of our process is to take care of all
Okay.
of that.
The other question I had, and this is really I believe a valuable consideration, is adding the chairperson of the ADA committee to this particular committee. Given the fact that we're talking about traffic and safety, right, sidewalks, stoplights, and how that obviously, so I don't know how you do that, though, given the fact that each member appoints it, unless the mayor would like to concede his nominee, because you do appoint every member of the ADA committee, right? So if we take out the mayor's specific nominee to the traffic and safety and make it automatically the chairperson of the ADA committee, then we have their insight on safety and traffic as it impacts them.
I don't have an issue with that.
I love you. Thank you. That's a big concession.
married.
Thank you. I know. Yeah. Yeah.
But thank you.
Before you do, but you will have to convince Ms. Maxwell to amend her motion.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Maxwell, you'll have to amend your motion. Would you care to do so?
I amend my motion to include the mayor adding the ADA position to this committee.
Got it.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Yay!
Thank you.
Good job, everyone. We now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring forward council? Mr. Goldsager, please come forward. And you know the drill.
No, she's back there.
Glenn Goldschlager, 1409 Evergreen Circle, Midwest City. I want to regress for a minute. I'm the former chairman of the tree board. The tree board exists so that Midwest City can be tree board certified. We would not be Tree City, USA longer than almost any city in the state if it wasn't for the tree board. The tree board also has a stated mission to make sure that we have trees in our city. We work with the city, with Public Works. That's what we do. As far as standing committees go, if we had a state convention or federal thing where they were talking about trees, we might decide to send 2 people from the committee to this as a subcommittee would come back and report to the tree board and talk to us about what went on. That's what happens in the tree board. We've been around a very long time, and I think we've done a lot of good in this city. Now for other things. That's not part of my 4 minutes, by the way. During the wildfires, a lot of cities around the state were fighting the fires, and there was talk around the nation about fighting the fires. I know you are all informed of what this city did, but I think we need to talk about it. We have 6 fire stations, we have 18 firefighters. Emergency management, along with our fire department, brought a reserve fire engine forward. We put a full crew on it. We had 7 fire stations ready to go. We worked with our public works. They took the bulldozer, they had it sitting on a trailer in case we needed it. We had a water truck full of water. But more importantly, the relationship between our fire department and our public works and our water department, 911 and emergency management, were all working as a team. I talked to the fire chief during this time, and he said that ISO 1 rating is not just the fire department, the fire engines and their training. It is everybody in this city working as a team to make sure it worked. They wouldn't have the personnel if it wasn't for HR. They wouldn't have the money to do it if it wasn't for the wonderful ladies that work next door, if it wasn't for community development, developing the water infrastructure, that wouldn't work. So everything has to work to make it work. We see the failures of other places when things don't work, but I don't think we spend enough time thanking the people right here in Midwest City for the stuff they do. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Kelly Hadnot? Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Kelly. I'm a Public Information Officer with the U.S. Small Business Administration. So we are here to speak about available assistance to survivors of the November 2024 tornadoes that impacted Oklahoma County. So a federal damage assessment was completed in late March of 2025. Unfortunately, the damage was insufficient to declare a presidential declaration. However, the SBA was able to find sufficient damage in order to make an agency declaration that allows us to provide homeowners, renters, businesses, and nonprofits with resources to help them rebuild or replace physical damaged property. So for homeowners, we offer loans up to $500,000 to repair or replace physical damaged property, and that's for uninsured or underinsured losses. And then renters and homeowners, we also offer personal property damage loans up to $100,000. And so for the residential loans, the interest is as low as 2.563%, and a loan term up to 30 years. So we also assist businesses. So we offer a physical damage loan to businesses and nonprofits, including churches, charities, and private universities, with loans to repair or replace physical damaged property, including real estate, equipment, supplies, inventories, equipment, and machinery. We also offer economic injury disaster loans, or EIDL, which are working capital loans to help businesses meet their ordinary expenses that ordinarily can't be met as a direct result of the disaster. Now, these loans for businesses are as low as 4% for businesses and 3.625% for nonprofits. A loan term from 7 to 30 years. Most loans are 15 to 30 years. It's decided on a case-by-case basis, considering the ability to repay. And so the eligibility is the businesses or applicants only need to show an ability to repay the loans or have credit acceptable to the SBA. So it's not quite as strict as a private lending institution. So the key benefits are there's no cost to apply, no obligation to accept, and no payments or interest for the first 12 months after the first loan disbursement. Applicants may apply online 3 ways. Online, the first way is lending.sba.gov or on the phone at 800-659-2955 or in person at our Disaster Loan Outreach Center, or DLOC, which is located in Harrah, Oklahoma, at the Harrah Church. They are open from Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., but they will be closing soon within a matter of days. So if applicants need assistance, we recommend that they go to the Herod Church to work with the customer service reps. And so, yeah, so these are your federal tax dollars coming back to assist. And the physical damage deadline to apply is May 27th, 2025. And the deadline to apply for the economic injury disaster loan is December 29th, 2025. The county has shared the flyers. I think your emergency manager has posted some of the flyers or one flyer online. I also sent them hard copies or digital copies to Ms. Sarah, the city clerk, as well as the emergency manager. And you may have already received them again from Oklahoma City Commissioner. So yes, and I will also leave you hard copies for yourself, for your review, or feel free to post or share. So that's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
But
We're not allowed to talk to her, right?
No,
So we can't tell her that Jeff Harrison from Midwest City Beacon is out there in the audience.
no.
If you have questions, I will be meeting with your emergency manager tomorrow. Okay?
excellent, thank you.
We can't tell you that that guy's in the newspaper.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Does anyone else have anything before the bring before the council? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and we will recess for 10 minutes. Susan's on her way in. Hold on just a minute.
Is she?
I thought.
Hey, Mike, go tell Susan we're ready. Please. Outside? Yes. I should have, but. I knew I'd get Dawn to do it.
I'll go ahead and call to order the Midwest City Municipal Authority. We do have a consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests to discuss an item, or if there's not unanimous consent, the item can be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Had a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. One discussion item, Mr. Lyons.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action awarding the bid to and approving a contract with Brewer Construction LLC for $454,725 and 90 calendar days for the Northeast 23rd Water Line Extension Project, and authorizing general manager to execute the contract.
I have a quick question before we hop off in the discussion of this item. I'm trying to figure out what the threshold is for the bow tie, and I thought it was 500,000. But you're wearing the bow tie tonight, so are we lowering that to 400,000 or just checking? Like, where are we at? Okay, there we go.
There we go.
I know.
Sorry, that was beautiful,
Duly
was it
noted.
not?
$500,000 is the threshold.
Okay, just checking. There we go. Sorry, had to ask. Second.
All right, you got it.
I
I have a
second.
motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I make a second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. There you go, Mr.
Thank
Street.
you, Honorable Mayor and Council. I appreciate it.
We now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned, and I call to order, as soon as I get my page turned here. Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority. There is a consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda, so the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests to discuss an item, or if unanimous consent is not received, then the item will be removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
What is Plaza 62?
It's the hospital district.
Thank you. Sorry.
That's all right.
It's officially named Plaza 62 now? Okay,
Yeah.
sorry, thanks. Didn't commit that to memory.
It is the year the hospital was built.
Move to approve.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Discussion item number one, Mr. Lyon.
No action needed.
No action needed on number one. Number two, Mr. Lyon.
Discussion, consideration, and possible action approving a one-time transfer of funds for fiscal year 24-25 from the Midwest City Memorial Hospital Authority in the amount of $9,248,155 to the Midwest City Urban Renewal Authority for the purposes of the Urban Renewal Project Sunrise.
Well, guys, to quote you, Mr. Thompson, we have a new day. So the report from the commissioners on Heritage Park Mall will be filed this week. I believe it was filed yesterday. They did give us a heads up on what that number is. The number is $6,710,000 for the building itself. There's an additional $200,000 that was given to the owner for moving expenses. We have another $12,000 in fees for the commissioners, and then we have a certain amount of additional fees, court fees, mailing fees, things like that that we'll need to cover. So the total cost will be between $6.9 and $7 million for the city to put into escrow with the court to start the process, the timeframes for the current owner of Heritage Park Mall to take his actions. We are waiting to see the full report, but what this action would do would be to transfer, as you heard the city manager say, $9,248,155 from the Hospital Authority to the Urban Renewal Authority. As I said, between 6.9 and 7 million will be put into escrow then with the court for the purchase of it. The remainder of that money will go for items like demolition, testing that we need to do at the facility to determine if there's any abatements or anything we have to do once we get to that point and we own the property. So this is the next step. It came down very quickly. We got this update Monday afternoon, right around 1 o'clock, and we scrambled to make sure we could get this on the agenda, because what we'd like to do is get the money transferred by the end of this week. If we do so, that's, as I said, starts the owner's timelines. Those timelines are, if they're going to file an action to object that we did not follow proper procedure under the Urban Renewal Act pursuant to state statute, they have 30 days to do so. If they want to challenge the amount of money that the commissioners have awarded, they have 60 days to do that. That clock we do want to start this week. And so that is why this matter is on the agenda tonight, for you all to decide whether to transfer that money to the Urban Renewal Authority. Our outside counsel believes, since the Urban Renewal Authority is the party that filed the action as required by the state statute, that then the money needs to come from the Urban Renewal Authority, which is why the transfer is being made. I'll be happy to take any questions.
I have a question particularly about the moving expense piece.
Mm-hmm.
So are we required to cover moving expenses for the current owner?
That is an interesting question. If we wanted to file a challenge to it, we could theoretically file a challenge to the $200,000 in moving expenses. I can tell you our outside counsel and myself would recommend we not do that, and we absorb that and move on. At least it takes an argument away from the owners of Heritage Park Mall that moving expenses were not covered. Okay. And we did have a provision within our plan for moving expenses, but they were supposed to be items that were legally placed there, and that is up for debate.
Okay, and in that same vein, have a question. Based upon past information received about the types of materials that have been stored in Heritage Park Mall and the danger presented by those items stored there, will there be emergency services staff?
I won't say it will be emergency services staff. That will be part of the contracting process that we must do, because due to some of the items that are in there, a couple of things. If they remain and they don't get moved out by the owner of Heritage Park Mall, number one, some items may have value, so we will have to inventory them, surplus them, and dispose of them like you saw many items on the agenda today. There are some items up there, specifically I saw R22, refrigerant, that may be now obsolete, deemed a hazardous waste, and then we would have to have it properly disposed of. And just so everyone knows, there's only one hazardous waste landfill disposal facility in the state. It's in Lone Mountain in Major County. So yes, that means that If those materials are still there, they would have to be transported to that facility.
And that was where my concern
Right.
was at is, you know.
And we would hire somebody to do that.
Right.
And that's part of what the remainder of the money is for, is to take care of those types of
Well,
issues.
but my concern also goes to the residents in the neighborhood
Exactly.
surrounding
Mhm.
Heritage Park Mall, because
Right.
that had been what we had received reports on about some of the chemicals that were stored in Heritage Park Mall present a danger to our first responders as well as to adjacent residences.
Yes.
And so I wanted to make sure that, I mean.
We are
would
taking all of that into
have all the
consideration
precautions.
and abundant amount of caution, knowing what is in there, knowing what we have to do. We will take that on a step-by-step process, and we will hire a hazmat team, somebody like that, to go in and take care of those
So
types of
that
things.
would not be part of what we're looking at, putting on deposit for funds, but would be.
No, we don't, no, that would
an
be coming,
additional
yeah, in other
outlier.
words, we'll put on between 6.9 and 7 million. That will come out of the remainder 2.2, 2.3 million that is left.
Okay, sorry, I just wanted to make sure we were covered in terms of monetary terms for those things.
So wouldn't it be better, Don, or should I say council? I don't know, and I'm just speaking for myself. I assume that even if this is approved, we get down the road 30 days, it's going to take him a while to get out of there. Would that be a correct statement?
It depends on what his response is.
Okay, so we still have some time, and what I'm basically saying is, instead of taking out the 9.248 million, why not just take out the 7 million, put that into the urban renewal where we can make the deposit, and then once we know, okay, we're moving forward, he's accepted the bid or he has not, whatever, and then we're going to move forward with demolition, which could be 6 months.
Right.
3 months, a year, who knows? Why have that additional 2.4 out if we don't need it? Does that make sense?
I can tell you that was, you may want to take this, I know that was a recommendation by our finance director to go ahead and do the entire transfer at this time.
Yeah, I mean, if Tia wants to address that, originally we were gonna transfer the 7 million, so we'll let him.
I find it's more effective when dealing with issues like this where we have to move very fast. So if we only had the 7 and then all of a sudden we had huge expenses, especially when it comes to transferring from the hospital authority over the urban renewal authority, having to come to council, do all that, it is my recommendation to make it done, to get it done so we can keep moving forward to get Heritage Park Mall done. So I just, that is completely at my suggestion of get it all done now so we can keep moving forward fast with
But
it.
what if it's 4 million that we need?
We'll have to come back.
Then you're gonna have to come back for more.
Yeah.
That's, I understand 100% what you're saying. The only thing I'm concerned about is if we take it out now and the stock market goes up, we make a little more money on it. But I understand where you're coming from.
Sure, so
just a
the only
suggestion.
thing, so the way that also works is that the amount that's gonna get pulled out, everything that isn't put over into escrow still is gonna be sit in investments, and so all that money will be just fine. But yes, it is just a matter of moving it on the books over to urban renewal, so that way we can just keep moving forward. If we only move the amount that we need now, we're gonna have the same problem next month, and then next month, and then the next month, so it will just slow up processes.
Mr. City Attorney, I have a question. There's still, and I don't need a huge answer to this, I think I know the answer. There's still a possibility that we're gonna end up in court with him, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. We have been, over the last couple of years, operating under the guidance from you and the city manager that we not make any public comments about this because it could be used against the city in court. This is a big deal, but is it your recommendation that we stay, as an elected official, we stay mute on this and let?
We stay true to the course. Our public information officer will put out talking points. Obviously, he's already done that with Mr. Harrison, and I know Mr. Harrison has requested some time with, I think, me after the meeting. And so, but yes, I would recommend that just the official actions of the city council speak for the city council.
Okay.
Can I ask, just so I understand the process
Mm-hmm.
better? We're moving the money to the bank account where it could be dispersed if it
Correct.
comes to that. Now, if there are legal challenges, that money just remains in that bank
It
account.
it remains in escrow with the county court clerk's office.
Okay.
That's where it goes. It goes into an escrow account with the county court clerk and put in control of the court, because that's what the law requires.
Okay, but once the litigation is settled, the potential litigation is settled, that money either ends up getting dispersed. If not, that money ends up going back to where it originally came from. No
Right. In
loss.
other words, what would happen is we put the money in escrow. Let's just take a scenario where the owner of Heritage Park Mall challenges. A couple things you need to know is that if that challenge does exist for the monetary amount, he must get an award at 10% above what the commissioners have ordered. If he gets above 10%, then we also owe him his attorney fees and costs. If it comes in at or below 10%, we get to request, and he has to pay for our attorney's fees and costs. It's the way the law works. If he asks for a jury trial and the jury comes back with an award less than what we put in, then he gets that amount of money minus our attorney's fees and costs, and then the rest of that was placed in escrow comes back to the city.
But at this point,
Or-
would it be fair that just moving this money does not mean the city's gonna be out there demolishing buildings?
No, we are a minimum of 60 days away from that, and that doesn't even include the fact that that will be a project that'll be more than $100,000, probably touching closer to $1 million. It'll have to go out for bid, and we'll have to publish notice. We have to go through all of that process yet.
Can I ask a question, and please, it's okay if you can't answer it, just so it makes sense to me. Are we spending approximately $9 million with the plan of just demolishing the building, or do we have a future plan for the
We do not
site?
have a plan yet. If we went for demolishment, first thing we have to do is acquire the property. And then when we acquire the property, we've got to, it sits then entitled with the Urban Renewal Authority, and then as the city, we've got to decide what do we want to do with the building. Obviously, we have Sears there. Now we own the old Whataburger plus the internal parts of that building of the mall, and then that's a determination that is yet to be made.
Tell me that, I guess what I'm trying to make reason out of this is that we're not spending $9 million just to demolish a building. That is not gonna be the end game out of $9 million, fair?
Is
Okay.
the end game then to to demolish the building and leave it just demolished like that? No, that is not. We have and Robert headed up a number of years ago, an Air Depot redevelopment project, and there is an Air Depot redevelopment plan that was developed and presented to the current owner of Heritage Park Mall, and we told him we would be willing to assist you and help fund and hopefully revitalize and rehabilitate Air Depot. That is still, I know, talking with both our economic development director and our city manager, something that I know they would like to see pushed forward. So just to say, we're spending this money and going to demolish the building, I would say no, that is probably not.
There'll be an RFP process to go through for the best use. That's the.
Our outside counsel did not state that one way or another, so I don't know the answer to that question. Because the information I gave you came from our outside counsel.
Normally, whenever you plead into the court, like you interplead funds.
There are certain court fees that, yes, we will have to pay. They have not calculated those yet. But yes, there is a little bit of that has to go in there, yes.
Any further questions, Mr. Mice? Hearing none, motion? I have a second? Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries.
And thank you very much, Don.
It's been a long time coming. We now move into new business public discussion. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we are hereby adjourned. I call to order the Special Economic Development Authority. We do have a consent agenda, and these items are placed on the consent agenda. So the trustees, by unanimous consent, can approve routine agenda items by one motion. If any trustee requests to discuss an item or unanimous consent is not received, then the item has been removed and heard in regular order. Chair to entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. Discussion item number one, Mr. Lyon,
It's the
I
same
believe.
item as before, the 454,000 for the Northeast 23rd.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, motion carries. We now move into public discussions. Does anyone have anything to bring before the authority? Hearing or seeing none, we're adjourned. By golly. What are you throwing? That was not my pen. I've got a nice pen.
I have a good pen. Mark. You couldn't hear her. She's been hollering at you. That's why I jumped in.
Selective here.